I'm here in front of the Sydney Town Hall, where passionate members of the solar industry have rallied together to have their voices heard in the wake of the New South Wales government's slashing of the solar bonus scheme. Industry bodies have empowered change by giving us the opportunity to speak to both media and politicians today. I'm here with Nigel Morris from Solar Business Services. Nigel, let me ask you this. What do you think, for you, has been the biggest impact of the New South Wales government's decision to slash the solar bonus scheme?
Look, the cuts to the scheme are irresponsibly aggressive. There was no need to cut them as much as they have, and all it's done is stop the industry in its tracks when it could have been wound back in a much more pragmatic way. We recognised that 60 cents was too high, and in fact we helped warn the government that 60 cents was too high. But right now there are seriously jobs at risk, and there is turmoil in the industry which is not helping anyone.
We're here with Simon Troman of IT Powering Australia. Simon, now are you in favour of a national feed-in tariff?
Yes, very much so. Consistency across all the states would be really good for all businesses. We don't even have consistency in Australia across council jurisdictions, and a lot of installers are finding that the rules they have to meet in one council jurisdiction are different to the one right next door, and then you get to the state level and it just gets harder again with not only have they got to deal with planning issues in one jurisdiction, they've now got to deal with a whole bunch of legislation to do with incentives. So it's actually putting the onus onto the installers to also be legal experts and planning experts, when really they should be getting on with the job of what they do well.
I'm here with Bonnie from CSG Solar. Now Bonnie, what are your comments after today's rally?
Well, I think it's clear that the solar industry is in disarray after what the government's done. They've essentially knocked the feet out of an industry that was just getting on its feet. Look, we've been on a roller coaster ride for years. Governments across the country, federal government and state governments, have seen the solar industry as basically a charity case where they can give money when they feel like it and then take it away when they feel they can do that. And we're a real industry. We're here to employ people, to generate real electricity for people's houses.
Do you believe that a national feed-in tariff might help reduce these sort of issues in the future?
A national feed-in tariff would be wonderful, but I do tend to agree that with some of the speakers in the rally that it's a very, very difficult target to achieve. What I would suggest that we need is a national body to help determine and regulate what feed-in tariffs could apply at state levels. At the end of the day, in New South Wales, a scheme like this should only cost somewhere between 50 cents and $1 a consumer. It's not too high a price to pay for the value it brings to the community, for the jobs that it creates, and for the environmental savings that we get.
What do you think the greatest impact of the New South Wales government to slash the solar bonus scheme is going to be upon the industry?
I guess the saddest impact is something we've heard today, and that is in a time when we're trying to get more skills training in Australia, trying to get more apprentices and trainees on board, we're hearing business after business today say, I put some apprentices on recently, I'm now going to have to lay a couple of them off, or I was planning to put apprentices on, I can't really do that now. Apprentices are going to be the most affected by this in New South Wales. Essentially there won't be apprenticeships in the solar industry because there won't be enough work and enough security to invest all that time in skills training. So I don't know about the greatest impact, but certainly the saddest for me is that next generation of people are going to start missing out, that we're not going to build up the skill set. The greatest impact will just be a complete grind to a halt, all but grind to a halt, I imagine we will see over the coming months in people in domestic scale uptake of solar power.
Do you have the confidence that the next government, if there's a government change next year, would be able to provide us a solution to help our industry?
My impression is that if the coalition was elected in New South Wales, they would scrap the feed-in tariff. And so we're stuck with the choice of a Labor government that has put us on a roller coaster ride and has given us a tariff now where where people who generate solar power are paying for the privilege to use their own electricity. That's important. No one should have to pay to use power they've generated, the system they bought with their own money on the roof of their house. But I think that the choice is that we've got the coalition, which, by all indications, will scrap the tariff altogether. And so we're left with the choice to vote Green, I think. They're the only party that have said that they want to have a decent feed-in tariff for solar power and one that will last. And I can only hope that the outcome of the next election will be beneficial for our industry.
What, in your opinion, would be the ideal feed-in tariff?
This is a great question because it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. And every time I hear a politician say, we believe it should be 30 cents because the industry won't die, or we believe it should be 60 cents or 10 cents or whatever, I go, but the number is not fixed. What you need to decide first of all is what are you trying to achieve. In Spain, they wanted to achieve a very large uptake of large-scale solar very rapidly, so they set the figure very high and made it very attractive. In the case of places like the ACT, they are aiming more at the smaller to medium-scale systems and a very long-term plan, so they have set it at what they believe will encourage uptake at a steady rate over a long period of time. So if what you're trying to achieve is a huge number of systems installed in a very short space of time and you don't care about cost and other implications, then you just go as high as you like. So it's a hard question to answer. If in my world, in my perfect world, I guess, what I would like to see is I'd like to see us move away from dirty coal power. I'd like to see us move towards the clean tech future that we keep talking about, and consequently any incentive has to be at a rate that will get people to take it up, will pay back their systems and their investment and their risk. Don't forget, people are taking a risk here. A lot of them are taking it out on their mortgage, extra mortgage, to buy systems. So it's not just the payback on the capital, it's the payback on the interest as well. So we need to have a rate which is going to make people want to actually invest in this. And more so, as we've all heard today, we need some security. We need to know it's not going to change in 5 minutes' time, because no bank will loan to someone to buy something when the numbers they're basing it on are going to change next week. You know, it's got to be some long-term vision.
So what in your mind would be an ideal feed-in tariff for New South Wales?
Look, I think there isn't a single number for an ideal tariff. I think the tariff has to be a moving target. I think it has to track the cost of the technology. I think it has to track the changing cost and value of RECs. I think it has to track the change of costs of electricity.
Any other comments after today, Simon?
It's very positive to see so many people come along here today. It's really positive to see people wanting their industry to thrive and willing to put the hard yards in to do that. Nobody has been paid to come along today. You know, everybody is here at their own expenses in the case of many of the small businesses. We heard from people that travel from Port Macquarie, Queanbeyan and further afield. They've given up work time to come along here today, and so I feel it's a very positive message there that the industry is growing and maturing to the point where we're not a fringe player anymore, we're not sort of the hippies who live in the bush anymore, we're a mainstream organisation and we need to be treated as such.